The average American household now spends close to $4,000 a year on takeout and restaurants. 4,000. And most of that isn't fancy nights out. It's the Tuesday evening, I'm too tired to cook. Just order something kind of spending. It happens at the exact same moment every single day. 5 o'clock rolls around, somebody asks what's for dinner, nobody has an answer, and out comes the phone. And 20 minutes later, you're paying $40 for cold lo mein and a delivery fee that costs more than the actual food. Our grandparents never had that moment. They cooked once and ate for days because that's simply how it was done. A big pot on Sunday, a full freezer, and supper handled long before anybody got hungry. It wasn't a clever trend with a hashtag. It was survival and it was smart. So today I'm showing you 10 scratch-made freezer meals you can cook once and eat off of for a month. Real food, not those sad gray TV dinners that taste like the box they came in. And somewhere in here, I'm going to bust the single biggest myth that scared people away from freezer cooking for years. Let's get into it. We're starting with the laziest stroke of genius in the whole kitchen, and it barely counts as cooking. Marinated meat that makes itself. When chicken goes on sale, and I mean really on sale, buy the big family pack. Split it into freezer bags, pour a different marinade into each one. Squeeze out the air and freeze them flat. That's the entire job. Here's the clever part, though. The night before you want it, you move a bag from the freezer to the fridge to thaw, and the whole time it's slowly defrosting, that chicken is sitting there soaking up the marinade. Two jobs happening at once while you do absolutely nothing. By the time you get home, it's seasoned right through to the middle and ready for the pan. One sale and one afternoon, and you've got teriyaki, lemon garlic, and barbecue chicken stacked up like money in the bank. It keeps about 3 months in there, so when you catch a sale at half price, that's not a small saving. That's dinner for a dozen nights bought at a discount. And the marinade does double duty because the salt and acid in it actually help protect the meat from freezer burn while it sits. Now for the true heavyweight champion of freezer cooking. Soup, stew, chili. Anything in that family freezes better than just about anything on Earth, and the reason is simple. It's already wet, so there's no delicate texture to ruin. Make a giant pot, let it cool, and here's the trick that saves you a mountain of space. Freeze it flat in zipper bags, laid down like books on a shelf. You can stack a whole month of dinners in the spot where 2 greasy takeout boxes used to sit. But here's the one mistake nearly everybody makes. Don't put potatoes in the batch you plan to freeze. They turn grainy and mealy and just plain weird when they thaw out. Leave them out and toss a few fresh chunks in when you reheat. And if your chili comes out looking a little separated and sad, don't panic and don't throw it away. That's only the starch letting go of the liquid. A good stir over low heat pulls it right back together. One more thing I learned the hard way. Freeze it in single dinner or single family portions, not one giant block, because a 5-pound boulder of frozen chili takes half a day to thaw, and you can't break off just a little. How do I know? Let's just say trying to attack a frozen block of beef with a flathead screwdriver and a hammer at 6 p.m. is not my finest hour. Lasagna is where I need to clear up a flat-out lie you've probably been told. Folks will swear up and down that you can't freeze anything with ricotta or cheese because it goes grainy. Not true. It freezes wonderfully. The real secret is in the noodles. Cook them only until barely done, what the Italians call al dente, because they'll finish cooking when you bake the whole thing later. Boil them soft now and you'll be eating mush in a month. And here's the move that'll make you feel like a kitchen genius. Line your baking dish with foil first. Build the whole lasagna right in it. And freeze it like that. Once it's frozen solid, lift the brick straight out by the foil, wrap it up, and tuck it back in the freezer. Now, your good dish is free to use instead of being held hostage for 6 weeks. Come dinner time, peel off the foil, drop the lasagna back into that same dish, and bake it straight from frozen. Just keep it covered and give it extra time so the top doesn't scorch. Speaking of cheesy sauces people are terrified of, let's talk curry. Butter chicken, a coconut chicken curry, any rich, saucy braise you love. This is the myth I promised to bust. People believe a creamy sauce will split into a greasy puddle the second it hits the freezer. It can, but only if you let it. The fix is genuinely easy. Make sure the sauce has a little fat or a spoonful of starch holding it together, freeze it, and when you reheat, go low and slow and give it a whisk. It comes right back, smooth as the day you made it. And here's the part nobody mentions. Curry actually tastes better after time in the freezer. The spices settle in and marry together so it comes out deeper and richer than the first day. Freeze the sauce, cook a fresh pot of rice the night you eat it, and you've got a takeout quality dinner for pennies. And think about what that one swap does over a month. A curry from your favorite spot runs $15, maybe $20 a plate. A big batch you froze yourself comes out closer to $2 a serving, and it's the same food, arguably better. Casseroles are the backbone of cook once eating, but they hide a couple of booby traps. First, the rice or pasta tucked inside. Undercook it on purpose because it'll keep drinking up liquid the entire time it sits frozen. Second, and this is the one almost everybody forgets, splash in a little extra broth before you freeze it. A casserole that's been frozen a month turns into a dry brick without it, and that bit of extra liquid keeps it saucy and alive. Now the cheese on top. Don't freeze it baked on there. Add fresh cheese after you reheat, and it melts up gooey and golden like the whole thing was made that very minute instead of last month. Double the recipe while you're at it, since the work is the same whether you make one pan or two, and the second one costs you nothing but a little extra in the dish. And this is the one almost everybody forgets. The slow cooker dump bag. You toss raw meat, vegetables, and seasoning into a bag, freeze it, then dump the whole thing into the crock pot in the morning and walk away. Brilliant idea on paper, but two fixes make all the difference. One, season it heavier than feels right, because cold dulls flavor, and a bland bag thaws into a bland dinner every time. Two, keep the dairy and the quick cooking stuff out of the raw bag. Your cream, your milk, your fresh peas, stir those in near the end instead, or they'll cook down into mush over 8 long hours. And no raw potato in there either for the same grainy reason as the soup. Some lessons we only need to learn once. Mine came after the looks from my family after serving them a bowl of warm chalkboard dust. Meatballs might be the single most useful thing you can stash away because they go in a dozen directions. Subs, spaghetti, soup, a quick plate of appetizers when company shows up unannounced. Roll a big batch, and here's the key step. Freeze them raw, spread out on a tray so they're not touching until they're solid, then pour them into a bag. Skip that and they'll fuse into one giant meatball boulder you have to chip apart with a chisel. And I don't think you'd want to serve a meatball the size of a bowling ball for Tuesday night spaghetti. Anyways, when you want them, don't bake them dry. Drop the frozen meatballs straight into a simmering sauce and let them cook through right in there. They come out tender and juicy instead of like little rubber golf balls. Burritos are the homemade answer to the drive-thru, and they reheat in about 2 minutes flat. Beans, rice, a little cheese, some seasoned meat, all wrapped up tight in foil. Cheap as dirt, and they fill you right up. But here's where people wreck them. Do not put the wet stuff inside before freezing. No salsa, no sour cream, no lettuce. All that water turns your burrito into a soggy little disappointment. Freeze them plain, then pile on the fresh cold toppings after they come out hot. Keep the inside dry and the outside crisps up beautifully in a pan. For the road, a tight wrap of parchment, then foil lets you microwave one in the parchment, or crisp it in a skillet, whichever kind of morning you're having. Breakfast counts too, and honestly, it's the meal we skip or buy out the most. Egg bites and breakfast sandwiches freeze great with one small trick. Cook the eggs just shy of done. They're going to cook a second time when you reheat them, and if you cook them all the way through to begin with, you'll be chewing on rubber. Slightly soft now means perfect later. Build your sandwiches, wrap each one on its own, and you've got a hot homemade breakfast that beats the gas station every morning of the week for about a quarter of the price. And we'll finish with the one that feels the most like a warm hug on a cold night. Pot pie. Here's the rule that makes it or breaks it, and it runs against everything your gut tells you. Assemble it and freeze it raw. Do not bake it first. When you're ready to eat, you put it in the oven still frozen, no thawing at all. Baking it from frozen is exactly what gives you that flaky golden crust everybody fights over. Let it thaw first and the bottom goes pale and soggy without fail. A little patience at the oven, and you've pulled off a from scratch dinner that tastes like you spent all afternoon on it. A few quick rules tie all of this together. Always let your food cool completely before it goes in the freezer, because a warm dish gives off steam, and that trapped steam is exactly what turns into freezer burn. Label every single bag with what it is, the date, and how to cook it, because a frozen mystery casserole does nobody any good in 3 weeks. And while we're on it, that frosty, dried out patch we call freezer burn isn't spoiled and it isn't dangerous. It's just air that dried out the surface. Press the air out before you seal the bag, and it mostly won't happen in the first place. Add it all up, and you're looking at a whole month of real scratch-made dinners for a fraction of what those takeout nights were quietly draining out of your account. Knock even half of that $4,000 off, and you've handed yourself a couple thousand back a year, just for spending one good afternoon at the stove. Our grandparents had this figured out long before any of us came along. The freezer was never the enemy. It was the plan all along. Cook once, fill it up, and let past you handle dinner for the rest of the month.